What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Waiver Wire Queen. Thanks for tuning in today. If you are joining us today, you're not blowing another opportunity to take advantage and get ahead of your competition in these fantasy football streets. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoy listening to the podcast, we are on Spotify, Apple, and Google. Today we're going to talk about four quarterbacks whose stock is on the rise because of their situation, NFL free agency, so many different factors. One of these quarterbacks I'm not fond of, but his stock is going to go up. Let's jump right into it. So the first quarterback on this list is obviously Deshaun Watson. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, why is he on this list? He's on this list simply because, hell, he missed the whole 2021 season. So being able to play this year, his stock should increase. I mean, let's be real. 2020 was a MVP caliber season, one of his best seasons statistically in his career. And to miss the whole 2021 season, and if you have Watson in a dynasty league, that hurts. You may have traded him. You may have held on. I know a lot of people who try to offer me trades, but I was like, I'm going to hold on to Watson because I still think he has some value in the dynasty format. And being traded to the Browns, stock up simply because he is most likely going to play again. And that's a plus. Having him on the field is a plus. Availability is important. He was no good to us last year, so if you did trade him, you probably didn't get as much as you probably could have gotten during the 2020 season, or maybe even now. Again, I have people coming up to me about Watson. So he's with the Browns now. This is the best overall offensive weapons he has as a whole. Obviously, Hopkins is a great wide receiver. He's better than Cooper, but Cooper is very, very good. You got Amari Cooper, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. That's great. David Njoku, Donovan Peoples-Jones. They need to add another wide receiver, but overall, that is great. And if they bring back Jarvis Landry, that will be terrific. So he has a very good team on both sides of the ball, which I don't think he's ever had with Houston. And the offensive line is much better. So Deshaun Watson is not going to be running for his life. So this is a stock up, and simply because he's able to hopefully get back on the field and do what he was doing prior to the 2021 season, which he didn't play, didn't do anything. Okay, so we'll talk about the 2020 stats. 544 attempts, 382 completions. He had 4,823 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That is amazing. He rushed for 444 yards, and he had 3 rushing touchdowns, 8 fumbles, 3 losses. Not bad. If you got Watson, and again, you held on to him, you should be excited for him to return to your team. He is a top 5 quarterback, and when you don't have a top 5 quarterback in Dynasty or just even in the NFL, because he's not available, it's going to hurt your team. You need a quarterback. So if you have him on your roster, this is going to be a boost to your roster once he's able to get back on the field. Again, we have to wait and see what the NFL does, if they do anything at all. If not, then he should be available day one. And again, that's going to be a huge boost for your roster. I have him in a dynasty league, and it was a struggle last season for me at quarterback. I played Carson, Heineke. It was a struggle. If he is able to return, because there's no suspension or anything from the NFL, I am going to be super excited. I'm already excited, but this is just going to add to that excitement. Let's talk about Mitchell Trubisky. Woo! Signed with the Steelers. Great move for him. I also feel like the Steelers should add a young quarterback in this draft. I don't feel like Mitch is a franchise quarterback. I know what he can do. We know what he can do. And for them, he's not a franchise quarterback. But for us, fantasy purposes, it's a great move. I was able to pick him up in one of my leagues. This is a 2-quarterback league, so I picked him up right before he was signed because it was talking about, oh, he may get signed. I said, let me go in and pick him up. Picked him up, got signed. They have some very good weapons. Najee Harris, Johnson, Pat, Claypool. They have weapons. They do need to add another wide receiver because they lost Juju. But nonetheless, this is the best offensive group he's ever been around as the starting quarterback. Okay, didn't have a lot to work with the Bears. You only had Robinson and Montgomery, but now this is a lot. This is a whole lot to work with. Again, I do believe they'll add another wide receiver, which is going to help. He's a mobile quarterback, so for me picking him up, I know that he's a mobile quarterback, so he's going to definitely help me in that aspect, and his value goes up. You got to realize he probably was on waivers in most leagues. Not anymore. If you can pick him up because I do believe he'll be the starting quarterback. They're not starting Mason Rudolph over Mitch. Just not going to do that. But I do think they will draft a quarterback in this draft. And they should. They don't have their franchise guy. But let's talk about his stats. Last season, he was with the Bears as the starting quarterback. You know, he started off the season starting, was removed from the starting lineup, and then finished off the season very strong. 297 pass attempts, 199 completions, 2,055 passing yards, which isn't a lot. 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown. Not bad. Well, let's be real, it was bad. He did pick it up at the end of that season, and that's why a lot of people was thinking he would get a starting job once he hit free agency, but I was like, no, it's not going to happen because he's shown us what he is capable of doing. Well, now he has that opportunity again after taking some time to back up Allen. It's his time now. Let's talk about Derek Carr. Stock up. Derek Carr hasn't been bad. He just hasn't had a number 1 wide receiver. Well, guess what? He has a number 1 wide receiver. They have very good weapons out there. Stock is up simply because, one, you have Devontae Adams. I have him as my top wide receiver in my top 10 wide receiver rankings. You have Devontae Adams. You already have Waller. You have Jacobs. You got Hunter Renfrow. They added Bolden. And they have Brian Edwards, who I think he's a solid young wide receiver. And they have Kenyon Drake. So they have some very good weapons. And again, now you have that number 1 wide receiver. Derek Carr had a solid season last year. Could have been better, but again, you don't even have a number 1 wide receiver. And then Waller had a injury-plagued season, so you didn't have your best weapons out there on the field. And again, you didn't have a number 1. Now you have a number 1. And Josh McDaniels is a very good offensive-minded coach. Hopefully he has a better coaching career this time around. He didn't do so good first time. Nothing wrong with having a second chance. He has that second chance, and I think it's going to be very, very good out there for the Raiders. Let's talk about his stats last season. 626 pass attempts, 428 completions, 4,804 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. That has to increase. Those touchdowns have to increase. And I think part of that is you don't have your top guy in Waller, and then you don't have a number 1 wide receiver. I didn't think Henry Ruggs was a number 1 wide receiver. There were better wide receivers on the board, but the Raiders chose to draft him. Judy would have been fine there. You're going to see Judy do some things this upcoming season with a quarterback. But at the end of the day, you could have had CD. That would have been perfect. Okay, don't have him, but now you have one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and that's going to show in Carr's stats. Not happy with the 13 fumbles, only 5 lost, so that's not too bad, but it's going to have to hold on to that ball more. There's some quarterbacks who have way more, so not that bad, but at the end of the day, it's got to cut that down. I want to see those touchdowns increase, and I think they will. Just think about it. Over almost 5,000 passing yards, and you don't even have a number 1 wide receiver, and your top target, Waller, has an injury-plagued season. So there's a lot there. So you will see that. Derek Carr is a quarterback I want on my side this year. My least favorite guy on this list, but nonetheless, he is on this list. Tua. That's right, y'all. Tua is on this list simply because Tyreek Hill is now his wide receiver 1. Tyreek Hill is on the Dolphins. The Chiefs Out of their mind. Trade Tyreek Hill, which I thought was a good trade for them because they have too many holes. Mahomes' salary is huge as hell, and they need to address that defense. That's going to be the biggest issue. That defense. It's hard to stop Josh Allen and the Bills, but that's the team they need to be focused on stopping. The Bills' defense is very good. Chiefs' defense is not. So a lot of those picks that they acquired in this trade for Hill, they're gonna address the defense. Tua, on the other hand, has to stay healthy. He's always injured. That's a big issue. And is he gonna be accurate enough to get the ball to Tyreek Hill? I don't believe so. But however, most people are saying, well, Tua doesn't have any weapons. How do we know what he truly is? Well, we're going to find out this season what Tua is made of. He has better offensive weapons. Tyreek Hill, Chase Edmonds. You got Waddle's very, very damn good. They just traded Devontae Parker, so they don't have him anymore, which makes me think they are going to draft another wide receiver because I don't think any of the other guys on the roster is good enough to be out there. So I do feel at some point they'll add another wide receiver, which they should because this draft class is deep. So they're adding some weapons. I do believe they should add another running back because Gaskin isn't the answer. And Chase definitely needs somebody to be his co-pilot. 1-2 punch. You need someone else. So there may be a running back in this draft class that they may look and target, which will help because you're adding weapons. You want to give your young quarterback an opportunity to develop and grow, but you have to surround him with weapons, and that's what they're doing. So most people do feel like Tua will take the next step. I do feel like his numbers will improve, but again, health is wealth. Availability is important. I need him to be healthy. So I'm hoping for him to be healthy, and I'm hoping he can throw that ball down the field to Hill. That rhyme, job. Waiver Wire Queen always rhyming. Let's talk about his stats. Played 13 games, 388 pass attempts, 263 completions, 2,653 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That is not good at all. 3 rushing touchdowns, 9 fumbles, 1 loss. That's not too bad. But at the end of the day, I need to see more touchdowns and less interceptions from him. And less than 4,000 yards isn't going to cut it in today's NFL. So he's going to have to step that up drastically. I had an argument with someone and they said that Tua is better than Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert is only good because he has those weapons around him. Well, guess what? Tua has some weapons now. We're going to see just what he is made of. If he really has it. Because, again, if you don't have any weapons around that quarterback, chances are they're most likely going to stink it up. And you're not going to truly see what you have. Well, they're doing the job. They're bringing in the weapons. So let's see what Tua can do. I do feel like the stats will increase, but not enough to win Waiver Wire Queen over. He's going to have to do a lot to win me over. He's going to have to get about 40 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, like 5,000 yards to win Waiver Wire Queen over. Right now, still feel like stock is up, but at the end of the day, I still feel like he's not the franchise quarterback answer, but for fantasy purposes, if you have him, he's definitely going to help your team out this season. Y'all make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoy listening to the podcast, we are available on Spotify, Apple, Google. We are out here in these fantasy football streets. Leave some comments and let me know what you think about these 4 quarterbacks, and do you truly feel their stock is up? And also, let me know who you feel at the quarterback position, their stock is on the rise. Y'all have a great day. Peace.